Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago, which is at about 7:13 a.m. this morning. And it gives us great pleasure to certainly welcome, coming up in this segment, Dr. Nyan Gabsby Dolly, Minister of Education, as we look forward to discussing matters related to the S.E.A examination results, which would have come out yesterday. Certainly a happy and enjoyable time for most, if not all. Good morning to you, Minister.
Good morning.
Good
I hope you're
morning.
hearing me well.
Yes, we're hearing you clearly.
All
Good
right, so as we
morning.
get
Good
the
morning to
conversation
you.
started this morning, we were able to see the release and information coming out from the Ministry of Education, seeking to give some confirmations with the statistics for 2023. And it seems like we're on the upward trajectory in terms of students in that above 50% and that above 90%. And gratefully so, lower numbers in that category with the below 30%. Let's get your perspective as we start there as Minister of Education coming out of a pandemic period with what we are now experiencing in terms of the success of our students.
Well, of course, it is very heartening for the ministry because it speaks to our student achievement. And that's been one of the pillars of our efforts to ensure that our students are doing well, that our schools are doing well. So it was, difficult for us to see the effects of the pandemic on our student performance. And we were happy to see for the students, the teachers, and their parents that they have been able, with the year back at physical school, to be able to pull these grades up. We also would have instituted the after school program in 8 of our primary schools in Trinidad, and that was to assist. So we had the standard 3, 4, and 5 students of 80 primary schools that needed the most support. We were offering free after school tuition in these classes. And, we are happy. And that all of that was in the effort to give this kind of result at the end of the day.
Minister, good morning, and it's good to have you in the program. We want to get your thoughts this morning on the use of the S.E.A portal this time around for parents and teachers and principals to access, to have been able to access the results. Usually it happens at the school, the parents, of course, there's some traffic and maybe some controversy, but this year the ministry decided to go digital. Your thoughts on the use of the portal and some of what we saw happening yesterday where the system seemed to have crashed and some parents were not able to access the portal until later in the evening, causing some level of frustration to parents and students. Your thoughts?
I'm very happy that the IT department, I want to give my kudos to our IT department, as well as our communications department, for allowing us to transition successfully to a digital portal. So we have moved from a paper-based system of results to a digital system of results. It is normal and natural with any online results portal, if anybody's used the CXC portal, that at the time of release, there's going to be some traffic. So you're going to have those delays, you're going to have those refreshes and so on. In fact, the results were actually available from just around 11 a.m. The time of release was 12. So we saw persons able to access their results early. There was usual traffic around 12 to maybe quarter past, 20 past 12, maybe about 25 past 12. That would be time of traffic. And then after that, as less persons were on the side, you saw less delays and so on. So I was getting from as early as after 11 to 12:30, all going there, videos of persons in their homes getting their own results in the privacy of their homes. I was monitoring, I was getting all of the feedback and so on. So I really want to thank our staff, the staff of the Ministry of Education, for what has been a successful transition. And of course, this is all part of our digital transformation at the Ministry of Education, moving our processes and our systems from the paper-based to the digital, which allows us a lot more flexibility and comes at a considerable decrease in costs as well. I mean, we would have been at the stage where we were printing almost 19,000 result slips, packaging those, transporting them to schools. Parents would then have to go into the schools to collect. So it's also a considerable cost and much more efficient in this way.
Minister, as you speak to the greater use of technology, I'm interested in getting the perspective, of the Ministry of Education when it comes to moving our classrooms in a digital direction. We saw the situation where it is when COVID came upon us, very sudden as a country, as a world, in fact, and it was very clear that our education system was not as prepared and as ready. We have since reverted to back in the face-to-face, which of course is the ideal circumstance. But given where we are heading, given our future perspective with understanding and having an appreciation for that digital classroom, what kind of efforts are being made on the part of the Ministry of Education as it relates to policy and direction to incorporate this in some way, form, or fashion from as early as now? Even if on a minor scale, one day in the month, giving it a trial one day a week, to really insist and to find a pathway so that down the road, should we have any such circumstances with disruptions in face-to-face, our students who are able to have that kind of access will still be able to benefit. And this also ties into the thrust of your government through the minister with regards for digitalization and so on in terms of that move in that direction.
The best mix is the physical attendance that is tied in with the digital use of pedagogy. And so that is why the ministry has been in the last academic year, we would have gone through the outfitting of all of the secondary schools, both Trinidad and Tobago, with Wi-Fi capability. So that project took place and that was completed. This year, we have just received the approval and we're working with iGovTT, which is our partner in this, to provide the primary schools with the Wi-Fi access. So that's another project. So it's right now in the tendering stages. So that is, of course, the thrust to ensure that are we to experience something related to COVID or any other thing that interrupts physical attendance at school, which happens from time to time, even with general infrastructural issues, that there is an organized platform for students and teachers to go into. So teachers must have an e-classroom. So along with providing devices, when we have just going to take possession of about 8,000 more, which we will use to help students who do not have devices and are in a position that they can't easily access them. We've done the outfitting of the secondary schools. We are setting about the outfitting of the primary schools for Wi-Fi capability. And we also are working simultaneously on the school management system and the school learning management system. So those systems are where the actual student data is being put onto a digital platform so that there is digital management of our student records. That is the basis of us being able to have an e-classroom or e-classrooms that are organized and hosted by the Ministry of Education. So all of these projects are part of our digital transformation efforts that are actually ongoing. So there are quite a number of schools that are already, their records are already on. We've had to hire a firm to help us put on some of the others and some of the larger schools. And so we are steadily moving in that direction in Trinidad to put our school records, our student records online. So the situation is that once we have that, then we will have our e-classroom. So we have about 70 schools now that are testing out the SLMS platform. We formed after the COVID, we have formed an educational technology unit at the Ministry of Education. That did not exist before. So that was our immediate response to the situation of COVID and doing exactly as you just said, preparing ourselves so that if it happens again, we have an organized system. What happened before was the emergency system of response. So every school would have, done their part and went on to whatever platform they had. We would want an organized response that has more capability than simply an e-classroom that can store our student records, and we can run reports from that kind of system when in a term exams go on and so on. These are valuable reports that can be run, but they can only be done when those systems are in place. So it's a huge project to do that, because you would have noticed our tertiary education institutions, they weren't caught flat-footed because they had an e-classroom system. All of them had. However, you're speaking on a scale of 3,000 and 6,000 persons. If we are for an e-classroom system for the country, or at least for Trinidad, you are speaking about upwards of 200,000 students. So it's a lot more complex, and so it's really a large task, but we are well on the way to implementation. and we are working on that.
All right. Now, even as we look at the e-classroom and our education system moving to a paperless platform, can we also expect to see the books being online, the textbooks being online, and students being able to access them from there within the school system? Or do we still have to, or are we still going to continue with the heavy school bags and the trolley bags that some parents have to be hunting all over Trinidad and Tobago or going ordering online for because of how heavy these textbooks are? Are we going to also see the education system in Trinidad and Tobago move towards having all of the textbooks online?
Well, I'm happy to report that, again, iGovTT, that's our partner in this, they are actually in the evaluation discussions with ebook providers because we would have received approval some time ago. We had gone to Cabinet, we received approval, we went through the process of tendering, and now we are going through those defined discussions with the providers to select an ebook provider for Trinidad and Tobago. So again, part of our digital transformation program that is ongoing, and we hope that we will have something very soon to offer to the national public.
Minister Gabsby Dolly, as for the constitutional and THA requirement, we know that according to the Act, the Division of Education in Tobago has direct responsibility. But from where you sit as Minister of Education, tell us a little bit about that working relationship with the Tobago House of Assembly and the Secretary with responsibility for the Division of Education, so as to ensure that Trinidad and Tobago is deriving maximum benefit from our education system.
Oh, we have a very good working relationship filled with mutual respect. We understand where the boundary lies, but we collaborate on as many initiatives as possible so that both Trinidad and Tobago students have the benefit of those initiatives. And certainly, wherever we can assist Tobago with their thrust, we are willing to do that because this is about our nation, our children. So we have a very good working professional relationship.
All right. Minister, one of the things we've moved away from in recent times is the recognition of outstanding students, given what was a legal matter at the time. Is there any plans by the Ministry of Education to look at what might be a more longer-term solution rather than what appeared to have been a short-term fix to simply stop announcing and stop identifying the students, perhaps spreading it a little wider to identify the top student in every zone in Trinidad and Tobago versus one top student for Trinidad and Tobago? Any thoughts with reviewing that policy altogether?
The S.E.A is a placement exam. And so a student would choose the schools that they want to attend to, and they would and they would be placed on the basis of their results. And that is what we want to ensure happens. And once that happens, we don't want, along with that, what seemed to be taking place. We speak all the time about the pressure of S.E.A. And part of the pressure is this recognition. And what it has led to is something that is wholly unhealthy. The S.E.A is a placement exam. And yet, what we are getting from students, even students who have placed for their first choice, which means that they have achieved what they set out to achieve, is this this extra hunger for recognition and for being first, and it really has led to some unhealthy type of responses. Some students who should be happy about what they have been able to achieve and are not happy, even though they have achieved the objective, because they didn't come first or they didn't come second. And we speak about the pressure of S.E.A, and I want us to just consider that there are children who do so well and yet are so depressed because of this ranking system. That isn't healthy for our country. And as much as some of us speak about S.E.A and doing away with S.E.A, it is really the pressure of S.E.A on our students that we want to do away with. And so you'd have seen a general thrust by the ministry to de-escalate this ranking and this who is better than whom and which school is better than which. You'd have seen that effort along the way. Even when we still had recognition, we had opened it up to looking at a more inclusive type of view. So the students would have done the best coming from our schools, special schools, and so on. But even so, there was still this very negative connotation associated with the success of our students. And it comes from that ranking. And, it really was filtering into so many different things. I'm sure you'd have seen the discussion, and it involved race. It involved, geographic location. It really was getting very nasty. And that's not the purpose of S.E.A. The purpose of S.E.A. is to place our students, and therefore we can do that quite adequately without, putting emphasis on this ranking that was bringing all of this negativity into the examination and into our 11 and 12-year-old students. And at this time, there's no thought about reforming that and looking at the zone. No, our students are getting their results. Schools are doing their part as students leave in their graduation ceremonies to give recognition to students who would have been doing well in the schools. And we think that is recognition that is enough for our students as they move into their secondary school life.
So it continues at each of the respective high schools because they would have access to the collective information.
The primary schools
at
are the
the
ones,
primary
yes,
schools.
yes,
At the primary schools.
yes,
Excellent.
yes. And it won't be just the S.E.A. At the graduation level, the school would know the students that have been performing well all the time. And this is what we, we encourage that. Celebrate our students and parents. When your children do well, celebrate them. But this national recognition was having unintended negative consequences.
Okay, so is it that we will no longer continue with the recognition of the top S.E.A. student?
Well, that has been the trend in Trinidad we did that last year and we continue this year.
Okay.
We congratulate all of
Minister,
us.
even as we look at the S.E.A., and you mentioned a little while ago that it is a placement exam, is it that the ministry will continue on with S.E.A.? Because I know quite recently there were some discussions concerning abandoning the S.E.A. and finding another means of placement for Standard 5 students into the secondary system. Will the ministry continue? Will the Ministry of Education continue with S.E.A. or revert to some other type of placement system?
Well, the discussion that was led by the committee appointed by the Prime Minister was not about abolishing the S.E.A. It was actually taking a look at the S.E.A. and other options and getting from consultation with stakeholders to determine what was the best way forward. So it was not one saying, okay, the position was not that we are abolishing S.E.A. and we want to see what's next. It was really taking a close look at all that is happening, including the S.E.A. process. And they would have come with some recommendations. The Cabinet appointed a subcommittee that took a look at their recommendations and made recommendations back to the Cabinet on it. So that is going to come to the Cabinet very soon. And then the country will be apprised of what were the recommendations of that committee that was appointed by the Prime Minister to take a look at our situation.
Right, Minister Gabsby Dolly, your closing comments as we wrap this morning's interview.
I just want to congratulate all of our students who are going to make that transition to the secondary school level. I'm going to say to parents, there are some students who may have had to resit, and sometimes this distresses parents, and understandably so. But it is an opportunity for your child to have another chance at gaining valuable skills at the primary school level. And so we encourage you to take a look at it after the emotions have subsided. Take a look at it as a chance for your child, not as they have to resit. And support your child through that journey as well. And I also want to encourage parents of students who would have done and they are going on to secondary school, but they do need to beef up their math, their English, and their writing skills, that the vacation revision program is on, and they can get more information from their principals. There's also going to be information on the ministry's social media platforms about registering their children for the vacation revision program. This year it's expanded, so it's a secondary school, so students who are transitioning to secondary school, and it's also taking place in 80 primary schools in Trinidad for standard 3, 4, and 5 students.
Minister? All right, we've just lost the connection there, but thank you very much, Minister, Dr. the Honorable Nyan Gabsby Dolly, for joining us here on the Tobago Updates morning show as we spoke to the C results coming out yesterday and the perspective of the Ministry of Education going forth. All right, viewers, coming up next, we will be chatting with Keith Johnson and Nedra Stewart, representing Dance Ensemble Tobago, as we speak Dancing with the Caribbean Stars. So viewers, will remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.